This is a brilliant exercise for storytelling workshops, and it's also a brilliant thing that you can do at home too, for crack and a little bit of release around any embarrassment that you might have. Here's an example of me telling the story at a recent gig. I don't always tell this story because sometimes I feel like when I do, people put me on such a pedestal that it makes them, uncomfortable and less able to be themselves. But I am going to share it with you for teaching purposes, just like Jesus or Buddha would have done. When I was a child, I always felt like a man. From the moment that I was born, I felt like a man, and I felt like a sexual man from a really, really young age. I remember going out and making love to the flowers in my garden and the trees, and it was beautiful, and I knew that the earth wanted me to, and I could feel the earth crying with joy every time that it did, and the earth would say, oh my God, 4.5 billion years of evolution, I've only just waited for this moment when one man would be born man enough to make love to me in the way that I've been wanting to be made love to. And the sap would ooze out of the trees, and the blossoms would fall down on the ground beside me, and the animals with their soft animal faces would come crawling up out of the burrows to watch, and tiny tears would roll down their cheeks with the pleasure of the spectacle. And this went on. And as I grew in magnificence, every year the earth was more in love with me and was more richly fed by the love that I gave to it. Until I reached the age of 12. And I began to think, perhaps it's time I started to give my love to a human woman, to a human wife. And I looked around me, and there were a lot of magnificent 18-year-old women who were openly courting me all the time. They were sending me letters, they were calling me up, they were hanging by their fingernails off my windowsill and banging on the door with the braids in their hair that they put in their head just so they could whack on the window because they were hanging on with their fingernails and crying out, Dave, please! I can't bear to look at my boyfriend since I saw you. I had to say, ladies, just back off. I've got a special plan. The first time that I'm in my heart making love to a human woman, I want it to be different. I want it to be more real. So I took a path that no one else had ever taken. I ploughed my own furrow. That's right, I'm a radical. I believe in doing things in my way, the real way. So what I did, I looked in a magazine and I found the number for a sex line. And I called it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 6. I was greeted with a menu of options. Would you like to talk to the cheerleader? The school teacher? Or the naughty, 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 naughty baker? And I said, oh, well, I'll talk to the baker, please. Next thing I knew, I was in her kitchen. Oh my, I've got flour all over my bodice. I'm afraid I'm going to have to rip this off. You can imagine the things that happened. And for many months, we were very happy together, the baker and I. I would call her. So it was just a landline, there weren't mobile phones at this time, and I would wait till my mother was out in the garden, then I would go to the landline, I would call her. And I would give my love to the world while I was with her, and my spirit, and our spirits were soaring, and I would fling my love out the window, and it would fall on the ground, and trees would blossom up fully formed in the moment that the drops fell. Like pearls from heaven, and this went on for some time, and it was magnificent. And the world was just about to come to the point where there would be no more suffering, and no more greed, and no more war, and no more disease, and all the world needed was one more drop of my juice to make that pact, that magic, that spell complete, and I was about to seal the deal, and then, Patrick, yes, that's right, I think you know what happened next. Aircom got involved. Aircom. The evil empire. We can't have the world being happy. We can't have the world being healed, then no one would call anyone anymore. We need them lonely and broken so they're using the phone all day and all night. So what did they do? They sent me the bill. 300 euros, let's crush him with this. He's 12 years old, he can't get that kind of money. We'll get him put in jail, no one will ever see him again. That's right, they sent me the bill. But did I falter? No! First of all, in my magnificent attempts to save myself and thus the world, I pushed the blame onto my sister. I said perhaps it was her. She's older, she's 16, she's probably more interested in these kinds of things. I've seen her looking at a boy. My sister, selfishly, cravenly some would say, refused to cooperate in my plan to save the world and refused to identify herself. My mother asked me again, Dave, was it you? I sensed that the moment was right, but I said yes, it was me. Come with me to the offices of Aircom, and we will solve this problem together. I don't think you understand how much the world needs my love right now. So we went to the offices of Aircom, and I said, you sit back in your chair, you greasy man. I took off all of my clothes. I anointed myself with sweet perfumes and oils. I washed my face and my hands. I lay spread-eagled on his desk and I used his phone, his office phone, to call up the sex line. Oh, I've just spilled chocolate sauce all over my bummy bum. Can you clean me off? I was there with the baker. Once again I got into that rhythm, that melody, that sweet place where heaven and I were one. I let the power build, the crescendo outside. Birds were falling from the sky. Bricks were crumbling to dust. I let my moment arrive in the room. And the evil emperor was cast back in his chair, sprawling, terrified, begging me to stop. He said, stop it, it's too beautiful. I will never charge you for your phone usage again. I walked out of the room and the world was saved. And that's why you're here today. Yeah.
Thank you. It's the best wank story you'll ever hear.
So that's an example of how to, you don't have to do it quite like that. Take a ridiculous thing that you've done and make it the most heroic sounding thing that anyone has ever heard. So why don't you try this out at home? And if you do, then please let us know how you get on.